Until this year, I thought I understood what commitment meant. My wife, Marbelle, used to light up every room with her smile, her laughter softening everything around her. I married her because being with her felt like being home. Then, one evening, she looked at me with a calm I couldn't recognize, as if she'd rehearsed the moment for weeks, and said something that shattered everything I thought I knew. She wanted an open marriage. She said it casually, like suggesting new curtains. I stared at her, not angry, not confused, just hollow. The woman who once clung to my arm during movies and dragged me into the kitchen for barefoot dances at midnight now wanted freedom. I asked why. She shrugged, as if it were obvious. People grow, she said. She didn't want to feel tied down. She wanted to explore. It didn't have to affect us, but it did. In the days that followed, silence became deafening. She moved through the house with a brightness that didn't include me. Going out late, dressing sharper than usual, her phone always face down. Every detail hinted that she had long imagined a life in which I wasn't enough. I didn't argue. I simply accepted that her mind had already left. I began noticing things I had overlooked before. She stopped asking about my day, stopped laughing at my jokes, stopped holding my hand. She had quietly checked out long before asking for permission. I adjusted accordingly. One afternoon, while Marbelle was at another self-discovery brunch, her best friend Leia came by to pick up something she'd forgotten. Leia had a warmth that Marbelle hadn't shown for months. Soft-spoken, attentive, noticing the little things. She asked if I was okay. I almost lied, but her genuine concern loosened my tongue. I told her quietly, without dramatics, about Marble's distance, her desire for space, and how I felt like a guest in my own home. Leia looked pained. Not for herself but for me. She's making a mistake, she whispered. You've always been good to her. It wasn't romantic, just human. And in that moment, being seen mattered more than anything. A week later, I met Rowan, Marble's younger sister, at a small family dinner. She was 25, sharp, perceptive, and kind without needing to announce it. She had always liked me, but that night, her attention felt different. When Marbelle stepped out to take a call, Rowan leaned in and quietly said, "Don't let her make you feel replaceable. She does that when she's restless." Her words hit me harder than they should have. Everyone could see what was happening except Marbelle. That night, driving home alone, it became clear. I was done pretending. If she wanted an open marriage, she wanted distance, freedom from responsibility, loyalty, partnership. Fine. I wasn't going to chase someone running toward the exit. But here's what she didn't understand. I didn't seek revenge. I didn't scheme. I didn't look for validation. Yet when Leia and Rowan treated me with more respect, empathy, and honesty in a few weeks than Marbelle had in a year, something shifted. It wasn't romantic, at least not yet. It was emotional gravity. People naturally drift toward where they feel valued, and I was no exception. Marbelle floated in her new world, oblivious to the growing closeness between the two people she trusted most. The irony was clear. She had created the very distance she later accused me of. One night, she came home smiling, wearing a perfume I didn't recognize, humming a tune I hadn't heard. She kissed my cheek as if it were a formality, then scrolled through her phone for an hour, never noticing that I studied her like a stranger. And in that moment, I realized I no longer feared losing her. I already had. She had no clue about the quiet unraveling happening behind the scenes. Threads she had loosened herself. This was only the start. What followed wasn't planned. It didn't follow a schedule, and I hadn't scripted it to hurt Marbelle. Life just arranged itself in a way she never imagined, because she never paused to imagine anything beyond her own liberation. It began with Leia checking in more often. Small messages, simple words, "How are you holding up?" or "Hope you ate today." There was nothing flirtatious, only thoughtfulness. After weeks of feeling invisible in my own home, even the smallest act of care carried immense weight. One rainy afternoon, she showed up with homemade soup. She laughed awkwardly as she handed it over. "You looked exhausted last week. Thought you might need something warm." Accepting help from someone who wasn't my wife felt almost shameful. But the truth was, I needed warmth wherever it came from. We talked for hours, slowly, calmly, A conversation that wasn't loud or hurried, but steady and grounding. She listened without judging Marbelle, which surprised me. She wasn't trying to turn me against her. She was just witnessing what I had been enduring alone. When she left, she gave my arm a gentle squeeze and said, "You deserve someone who chooses you, not someone comparing options." Those words lingered long after she was gone. A few days later, Rowan asked to meet for coffee. She claimed it was for advice about a job interview, but it soon became clear that wasn't the real reason. "I'm worried about her," Rowan admitted, stirring her drink. "She's chasing something she doesn't understand, and she's pulling you into the chaos." I never asked Rowan to take sides. She simply saw the truth and cared enough to voice it. By then, the emotional chasm between Marbelle and me felt impossible to bridge. She was living one life, and I was slowly rebuilding another, not deliberately, but through the simple kindness of those who truly saw me. One evening, after another of her late nights, she walked in glowing, hair messy, cheeks flushed, smiling in a way she hadn't for months. She dropped her purse on the table and asked casually, "Did you eat?" Like a roommate. Nothing more. Something inside me solidified. Not anger, but clarity. "You look happy," I said. She paused, then nodded. "I am. I feel free. Like myself again." I said nothing. Freedom, I realized, had become her way of saying, "I don't answer to you anymore." The next morning, she asked if we could revise our boundaries. That was the moment I stopped her. "Update them for what?" I asked calmly. "You've already made your changes. You just want me to catch up." She blinked, stunned. "You agreed to this," she said defensively. I accepted the truth, but corrected her. "You didn't leave room for agreement." She had no response. That week, my connections with Leah and Rowan grew stronger, not crossing moral lines, just honest, raw conversations with people who weren't pretending. They cared because they could see the damage Marbelle was doing as she drifted away from reality. The turning point came suddenly. One Saturday morning, Marbelle stormed into the living room, gripping her phone like it was a weapon. "Why is Leah checking on you so much? And why is Rowan asking you to meet alone?" Her voice was sharp, nearly panicked. I didn't flinch. They noticed things she didn't. She glared at me like I had committed some unforgivable betrayal. The irony was striking. She had dismantled our marriage piece by piece, and now demanded loyalty from its ruins. "You're crossing lines," she snapped. "And you erased the lines." I answered quietly. She looked shaken. For the first time, she seemed to grasp the consequences of her choices, how the people she trusted most had filled the emptiness she had created. She pointed at me, frustration shaking her. "Are you trying to hurt me?" "No," I said. "But I stopped trying to protect you from yourself." Those words struck harder than any argument we'd ever had. She sank onto the couch as if her knees had given out. For once, her bravado faltered. "What's happening to us, Evan?" she whispered. I sat across from her, not beside her. "You opened the door. You walked out. And now you're surprised I didn't chase you." Her wide, disbelieving eyes said it all. She had expected the world to bend around her choices without consequence. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't angry, it was revealing. That was the moment she realized she was no longer the center of my world. She didn't know the full story yet. How deeply Leah had become someone I trusted, how Rowan understood me better than my own wife did. She had no idea how far the shift had gone. And she never saw what came next coming.